Hello and welcome. Oh my God, look at this room. You guys all look amazing. Give yourselves an applause. It is so good to be here in LA for our Women of the Year Leadership Forum. There is something incredibly special about seeing Times journalism step off the page and into a room like this one. It's also where we get to hear from some of the most incredible honorees on this year's Time Women of the Year list. Women everywhere across every sector have shattered ceilings, built pipelines, and knocked doors open for others to follow. And over the last 100 years, we've definitely made a ton of progress. Since 1974, we've gone from needing a man's signature to get a credit card to holding a record number of seats in Congress today. And yet, the numbers still remind us that power remains unevenly distributed. 62 years after the Equal Pay Act, women still only earn 84 cents on the dollar. Only 11% of Fortune 500 CEOs are female. But women aren't just waiting for a seat at the table. We are building our own. I want to take a moment to recognize all of the women that we have here today in this room. Your leadership is so meaningful, and it matters more now than ever before. Thank you. Time has spent more than a century asking one essential question: who is shaping the world right now? And looking around this room, the answer is very clear. The women that you'll hear from this morning are not just waiting for permission for progress. They are writing the next chapter and writing the headlines and making the headlines. I am so proud to work alongside the extraordinary women and men who are building the very best version of Time each and every day. Time team, please stand. At Time, we are so fortunate to spend our days telling stories about people who shape culture. And we are joined by two women who do exactly that. The first has one of the largest podcasts in the world, recently named for the first ever Golden Globe for Best Podcast. And her book, The Let Them Theory, was #1 on the New York Times bestseller for 57 weeks in a row. Joining her is an Emmy Award-winning actor, producer, and advocate whose work on screen and beyond has made her a powerful voice in women's health and HIV/AIDS awareness. Please join me in welcoming Time Women of the Year, Mel Robbins and Sheryl Ralph.
Here we go. All right, here we are. Mel is the moment. Yes.
Come on now. No, Sheryl Lee, everybody.
Thank you. As you can see, this is an equal opportunity. We love each other moment.
Yes, because one of the things that I've learned in life,
Yes.
the more you shout for and cheer for other women, the more opportunity comes for everybody.
Well, that's true, because I'm a true believer that when women win, everybody wins. But you know, it's really hard right now. I love the whole advancement of women and everything, but I really remember and think about this. For a few hundred years now, women had been, some still are, under the thumb of the patriarchy,
Yes.
under the thumb of men. So when you think about rising and you've been under the thumb of men, sometimes you learn men's bad habits. You learn their bad habits. So as women rise, I want you to remember to let go of some of what you've seen done by men. I love men, trust me. I'm crazy about a man. Sometimes men are a little crazy. And as we rise, and we will rise, because there are so many women, so many highly educated women, so many women really doing the blessed thing. When we get to the top, we must be better than what was before us.
Yes. Leave the door wide open, because I don't know who taught us there were a limited number of seats at the table.
Exactly.
Bullshit. There's a leaf in the table.
That's right.
Pull up chairs.
That's
Do
right.
not wait for somebody to ask you.
That's right.
If you want to be in the room, you belong in it.
the room.
Period.
Folks talk about the table. They say, well, what do you bring to the table? If you're a woman, I bring everything to the table because I bring life. I bring life to the table. When they talk about the table, I'm like, why are you waiting trying to get to somebody else's table? Buy your own table, build your own table, put up a seat and sit at your own table.
You know, one of the reasons why, Sheryl, I think they paired us together is because we are the elders.
Yes.
And we have had a long climb to have an overnight sensation moment.
Took me 40 years to be an overnight sensation.
Yes.
And you?
Yes. Well, 16 years of doing the same thing, which was basically trying to get out of debt, trying to pay my bills, trying not to kill my husband, trying not to scream at my children, trying to do better, trying not to be jealous of everybody else.
Isn't that stuff we all go through at some point in life? Yeah.
Yes. One thing I'd love to get your perspective on, because how many of you are busy working on something, and yet you spend a lot of time looking around at what other people are doing and telling yourself, why isn't it happening for me? Don't worry, I'm not going to call on you. I just want you to validate. And so I'd love to know, Sheryl,
Yes.
in those moments, because we've had a lot of them,
Yes.
where you're like, when is it going to be my turn?
Ah.
Is this even worth it? Should I keep going? Why am I not getting the break? I have worked so... I know, I'm in your head. We have had the same experience.
But let me tell you this.
Yes, please.
I don't compare and I don't compete. I don't compare myself to anybody else, and I don't compete with anybody else. When you compare and you compete, there's only one person that loses, and that is you. When you look at somebody else and say, why isn't that mine? Because it wasn't meant for you. It was for them. It was theirs all along. What you got is what the great goddess in the sky gave you. If you want more, you need to sit down with the goddess, plan, plot, and build, and move yourself towards your goals. And stop looking at everybody else's goals, because trust me, too many people's lives I have said, wow, what I wouldn't give to be them. I look at them now and I'm like, thank God I'm not.
Well, you know, that's true, because we pick and choose what we think we want.
Ha.
But if you're going to compare yourself, you better look at the whole pie.
The whole pie.
The
And even the
whole
part of the pie
pie.
you can't see.
Yes.
Because everything is changing. Everything is evolving all the time. Nothing is stagnant.
I heard this thing the other day, blew my mind. So 0 to 21, I think we all know we went through a lot of changes as we were growing up, right? 8,000 days. 21 to about mid-40s. Wow. 8,000 days. Mid-40s to your mid-60s. 8,000 days. Your mid-60s to your mid-80s. 8,000 days. Do you know how many yous you have yet to meet?
Come on now.
I think you can go through life in one of two ways. Either you say, God, I wish I had.
Ooh.
or you say, I am so glad I did.
Yes.
You don't even know what you are capable of in the next 8,000 days. And yes, there are very real obstacles, but I think one of the things that you and I do very well is we get quiet and say, what do I want?
That's it.
And it is nobody's responsibility but yours
That's it.
to create it for yourself. And what I'm excited about, and you were talking about this too, is what's coming for you. The you that you haven't met yet, the opportunities that will come, but you're not ready yet. Imagine that what's about to happen for you is so big, you have to go through some things.
on
And
now.
Sheryl is saying the goddess in the sky is like, you would not handle the bigness that's waiting for you. So you got to be patient, you got to build, you got to put your
right.
head down and know that at some point all of this hard work is going to pay off in ways you cannot even imagine, but it's up to you to hold on to that vision for yourself, and you'll be damn glad you did.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I hear you talking about the change, the future, what those 8,000 days could mean and become. Okay, Mel,
Yes.
if today were tomorrow, what would you say to yourself?
Wait, I don't know if I'm smart enough to answer that question. Wait, if today were
If it were
I need a
tomorrow,
cocktail, I think.
If you were
actually.
in tomorrow, what would you say?
Oh, don't miss today.
Come on now, exactly.
Don't be so wrapped up in where you're going or wrapped up in what you think you should be doing or wrapped into your phone that you miss the joy and the gift that is right in front of your face. Like, I think part of my success is that I learned everything the hard way. I screwed up
Most of us, yes.
yeah, most of us, right? I screwed up so much, and I think the lessons were there all along, but I was not present enough.
To see what was happening to you.
Yes.
Right.
How do you, what would be your advice, Sheryl? Because I think often about that very famous moment you've talked about when Robert De Niro said the brave thing to you. I would like you to extract how you took that truth and you used it as fuel to focus on why you do what you do, and you do not let the world around you define you.
What she's talking about is, I did a film with Robert De Niro called Mistress, and I am working in tandem with him. And we get in the middle, in between scenes, and the great Robert De Niro looks at me and says, "Oh, you're a damn good actress." And that's too bad. Because Hollywood is not looking for you. They are not looking for the black girl. And he said, so you better just climb that mountain and wave the red flag and let them know that you are there. I thought about that so many times. That, if I had been a different person, that could have really destroyed me. But I looked at Robert De Niro and I said, that's the great Robert De Niro, who just looked me in my eye and said, you're a damn good actress. Okay, maybe I'm a damn great actress, but thank you, Robert. And they're not looking for you, which means if I'm going to make it, if my dream is going to come true, I am going to have to advocate for myself. I am going to, thank you, you can clap that.
Oh, let me add to that.
So when, go ahead.
No, you keep
So
going.
when you hear me say, I want you to hear you. I'm going to have to advocate for myself. I would have to get up every day, be prepared to climb the mountain, wave the flag, having done the work to let them know that I'm there. I climbed the mountain. I did the work. I am here, and I am deserving.
And you want to know what else is great? When they don't see it, they're not looking for you, they don't see you coming.
They don't see you.
That's right.
I have a sign in my bedroom. It says, underestimate me. That will be interesting.
But here's the thing, though. Who do you think underestimates you the most?
Come, say it.
You.
Yes.
You. If I were to put a speaker on your brain and broadcast the crap you say to yourself, you would not be sitting here. We would have you on the 7th floor of a mental health institution.
It's the truth.
And the self-talk is the biggest obstacle in your way.
Destructive.
So destructive. And the thing that is sad is you have control over the way you look at things and how you speak to yourself. And if you take anything away from the time that you're going to spend around all the extraordinary women at this event, it's take seriously how you speak to yourself. Because the world will put obstacles in your way. You have the ability to remove them if you do not underestimate yourself.
And it happens all the time. We always think that we are not good enough. We are always thinking that they don't see me. We are always thinking that they don't get me. Part of your story that I love is you having just had this baby, married to this man who looks at you and say, "You're crazy.
Yes.
You're trying to quit your job. You have I loved it. You have a new baby. We need money, and you can't quit your job." But you quit your job listening to that voice, listening to that thing in your gut. The voice in your head is really real, you know. The voice in your head knows, and you better listen to the voice in your head. That thing in your gut, whether you put probiotics, prebiotics, whatever in it, your gut can really speak to you. Listen to your gut. And you listened and you stepped out on faith. You fell a few times. But this woman has her own company up on the East Coast. She hired her daughter and 50 other people.
Mostly women.
Mostly women. And now has the #1 podcast, all because she looked and said, "I can't do this. I got to be happy." Oh, I can't do this. I've got to be happy. I love that because I have got to be happy, because when I'm happy, everybody's happy. And I love you did that for you.
Well, I think it's exhausting to spend your life trying to make everybody else happy. And it took me until I was 54 years old, which is a long time, so I hope you can learn from my mistakes, to understand how much time and energy you are wasting in your life, managing other people, trying to change other people, trying to make them happy, trying to meet their expectations. Just let them. Let them do what they're going to do and take all that time and power back, and you will be shocked at how much time and power you have and how you didn't respect it. Your attention, your time, it is the most valuable resource that you have. It's like a melting ice cube on a kitchen counter. It will be gone like that. And the question I want you to ask yourself is not, what would you tell your younger self? I want you to time travel to the wisest woman in the world. And I want you to ask the 90-year-old version of you, what should I do today? What change should I make today? Because the 90-year-old version of you knows she does not have time. And she is going to tell you time is on your side. It is not your enemy, but you better start respecting it and start making decisions and using it to build the things that you want, to feel the way that you want to feel, and live the life that you want to live. Because again, you get to choose how you're going to go through this life. You're either going to say, "God, I wish I had," or "Damn, I'm glad I did." And you can start today.
And today is important because, you know, my dad used to say, "Today is the first day of the rest of your life." And I was always like, my God, my father, and these corny sayings. But I realized that today, or the day, is always the day for you to make a difference for you. And you are so worth it. You all hear me say it all the time. People don't have to like you. People don't have to respect you. People don't have to love you. But when you look in the mirror, you better love what you see. You have got to love what you see. When you are able to pay attention to that person, love that person, respect that person, cradle that person, wipe that person's tears, and tell that person, carry on and mean it. You're not just doing it for yourself. You're doing it for everybody else that will be around you because you really matter.
I don't know what else I should say after that. I mean, that was pretty incredible. It was. I guess if you're in a place where you do not love yourself, then the best project you could work on is you. And ask yourself, what would my Tuesday, because your life is full of Tuesdays, what does the average Tuesday look like? And if I truly was proud of myself or I loved myself, what time would I wake up? What's the first thing I reach for? What's the first thing I say to myself? Do I say, ugh, or do I say today's going to be a good day because I'm going to make it a good day? Yes. What do I do with my body? It's your actions, the littlest actions that demonstrate to you when no one's watching, whether you love yourself, whether you respect your time. And so start with you. Start with you. Start with a Tuesday and just act as if you already love and respect yourself and something funny happens. One of these days you're going to wake up and realize you actually do.
You actually do.
You are the single most important project you will ever work on.
You say that.
One. You do?
Yes.
You know who says that? Sheryl Lee Ralph says that. You are. And so I hope you understand that the time is going to pass whether you do something different or not. And if you're not happy or fulfilled by the way you're spending the average Tuesday, it is completely within your power to change that, and we hope you do. We love you.
Before
go get 'em.
we wrap up,
yes,
though,
go for it.
before we wrap up,
Do
and I
it.
know it says wrap up. Mel.
Yes.
So we have been chosen 2 of the 16-time Women of the Year honoree.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you?
This is probably the biggest honor that's ever happened to me. It really is. It's one thing to have the biggest podcast in the world and to have 11 million people listen to you every week and to know it's really helping people change their lives. It's a different thing to be seen for the positive impact that it makes. And when you host a show or write a book, you don't see the people who are listening. And to know that it's not only reaching millions and millions of people in 194 countries.
Wow.
And empowering them to make small changes that ripple through their lives and their families and their communities. But to know that someone else sees it. Mm-hmm. That just gives me a lot of pride. It makes me feel great for our team that works so hard. We put 100 hours into every episode, the artist, to make it seem like we don't. And I hope it inspires so many more women to pick up a microphone or to write the book, to tell your story, because you have something unique that someone else is looking for. And if you stay silent, they're not going to be able to find you. You have an impact to make. And so it just means the world to, at the age of 57, be recognized for the positive difference I'm making.
Well, I tell you, you deserve it. I'm happy to be here with you. And for me, I'm still questioning, how did I get here? How was I chosen in this group? And I think about the fact that how grateful I am that I have been doing what I've been doing for the past 45 years. And it's wonderful that now people can hear me. It feels as though I've been going through this experience of life and the mic has been off. The mic has been muted. And somehow I got to a moment with a group of people in a show called Abbott Elementary. And somehow my mic turned on. Somehow little cameras came out and people said, I like what she's saying. And I'm like, I've been saying it for a long time. But I'm so happy, like you, that after all this time of doing the work, the challenging work, there are times I've spoken up about things and people told me I was stupid. They told me to shut up. They said I was a loose cannon. They said nobody's gonna like you, and speaking up about important things will hurt your career. Really? Because if that was the price, then I was gonna lose a career. Because what was necessary for the people on a larger scale, on a grander scale, young women now, even young at heart women, that was important for me. So if in some small way, somebody saw that, I feel like you. This is truly a great honor, and I am grateful.
Well, we're grateful for you.
And you.
And you. I love you. She amazing. Sheryl Ralph, everybody. There she is.
Bell is the moment, everybody. Yeah, champions. Girl, you got the mark of the black girl on you. Look at that.
Do not wipe that off. Do not wipe that off. I want that to marinate into my skin. I need a little bit more of your energy.
Make you melanated.
Please, I'll take it. I'll take it. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful morning. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone for being here today. We're so happy to be here. I want to start by talking about how we're in a moment where power and leadership are being reshaped in real time. And I'm so excited to be here with this group because we're going to talk about what effective leadership means and who it actually is for at this moment. So let's get into it. Reshma, I want to start with you.
Okay.
You have said we need to stop fixing women and fix the system.
That's right.
Yeah, which I think is a powerful place to start, right? We're trying to get more women into leadership roles, but while we do that, it's important to look at what hasn't worked. Are there philosophies that have failed us, ways of thinking that we should change? Tell us what you think.
Well, I think the biggest thing in women's leadership that has been left out is motherhood. 80% of women at some point will become a mom. And they keep convincing us that we're broken when they're broken. I mean, think about it. Most of us were set up to fail before we even had our cup of coffee. Why is the school day start at 8:30 and pickup is at 3:30 when the workday is 9 to 6, set up to fail? Why do I spend more on my childcare than I do on my mortgage? Why am I constantly offered these false choices, these false binaries between either being a girl boss or a trad wife, when all I want is something in the middle, right? The freedom to figure out what works for me and my family. And so when we think about American motherhood, you know, the fact that it's broken, it's a feature, not a bug. It was designed that way. For 250 years, we have literally been conned. And the way that we're often conned is by judgment. Probably the worst thing you can say to me as a mom is that you're a bad mom. You know, there's a reason why in a true crime podcast where, you know, the story is about a parent killing a child, guess who's like the most viewed viewer of that? Moms. Because we're like, damn, at least I didn't kill my child this morning, like I'm doing something right. But if you look at the history of time and you look at these archetypes, they're all the same. The refrigerator mom, the helicopter mom, the anti-vax mom, the mom who breastfeeds, the gay mom, the tiger mom, right? Today, the wine mom, we're all the same. They humiliate us to take away our power. And once we recognize, right, that if we come together, if we don't fall for those cons, we can get childcare and paid leave. Because oftentimes, we say this at Moms First, like culture eats policy for breakfast every damn day. If you don't value something, if you don't invest in something, if you don't respect in something, then you're not going to invest in the policy choices that make things different. So to me, narrative change, culture change is everything.
Wow, that's really powerful. Thank you. Continuing on that theme of change, Leslie, I want to ask you about women-only leadership training programs. In your experience, what actually works? Should organizations be implementing these? Should they be looking for something that's more inclusive in a general way? What have you seen in your line of work?
So not everyone may agree, but I think we should get rid of them. I do not think, and we've made changes even in our own company on different initiatives, and we just recently opened up what was formerly a Women in Leadership training program as part of development opportunity for everybody in the organization. But if we are asking, historically, you look at cultural change, if you are asking the party that is underrepresented to go fix the problem themselves. So to the point you just made, if you're asking us to go fix your problems and talk about it amongst yourselves, you cannot affect change. So I absolutely believe that any leadership training program should be inclusive of everyone. There are skills that everyone needs to know. So we talk about historically, soft skills that women have sort of been poo-pooed for that are now actually emerging as the skills that leaders need to lead in today's environment. You need to teach those skills to everybody as well. So I do not think that we are going to solve any problem by putting ourselves in a room and talking about problems together.
It makes a ton of sense. And the idea that women should be the people who have to fix their own problems seems totally antithetical to getting more women in leadership in the first place. We all have to be a part of the solution, right? On that same note, Debbie, Open Table is 50% women. And now that you've achieved that number, which I think we should stop for a second and say, that's incredible, especially for a tech company, right? How are you refocusing your lens to really get more leadership, women in leadership roles and make it so that women can not only learn those skills, but be in those positions of power?
Yeah, we are half women at Open Table, but I think the more or equally interesting fact is that the exec team is also more than half women. The exec team are all working moms, which is a lot. And so your question on how do we get more women up there, first, you have to see it to be it. So just the fact that we are who we are. I make it a point, and I think many women on my team make it a point to be very vocal about what the life is of a working mom. So I have 2 kids. I have a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old. Yeah, 8:30 a.m. is not a great time when you're trying to get the fucking house out the door. Yeah. And I'm based in California. East Coast started 3 hours ago.
Yep.
So I'm on a call, wiping an ass, because my 4-year-old still doesn't know how to do that. Trying to fry some bacon.
Yep.
And get socks on while I'm talking on a call. So that's what my morning is, right? And every day, my husband, God bless his soul, but is in the bathroom very
on the
timely,
toilet, hiding.
summoning his shit while we are doing all this in the house, in the front of the house. Okay, so that's the morning. It is, you are correct. That was not built for me. But you know what? I'm really fucking good at it.
Yeah.
And that's why I hire women. Because we're really good at doing what I think is really the impossible. Putting on a sock, frying bacon on a call, right? And then trying to wipe poo. Literally those are my mornings. And,
but we shouldn't be asked to do it that way.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I go to work. And then I go to work.
Right.
That's the morning, and then I go to work. So I think it's so important that we have women in the leadership team, that we are we're not like ducks, just looking placid. It's hard. It's supposed to be hard. And I hate every moment sometimes, but I know that I've spent my entire life working for the privilege of being a mom, of being a CEO, of being a partner to my husband, right? All the things. But we have to model it. We have to be open about it. And I do think the flexibility that your workplace can offer you is really key. Yeah, I gotta go at 2:30 for pickup, but I'll sign back on at 6:30 after dinner, right? I'll make it work, right? I take calls in my car sometimes because it's the only quiet place in the house. In that flexibility, I'm not on camera a lot because I'm at soccer, right? And that just has to be what it is. And that's the only way it works for my life. And I think we have to offer that type of flexibility and support to our employees.
Yep. Everyone get a job at Open Table now. Clearly, that's the place to work.
Yeah, I feel like this panel could like change policy. So I feel like we need to figure out when school should start. You guys tell me.
Yep.
We're gonna write an article about a time. We're gonna make it happen. Great. Switching gears slightly, Dara, I want to talk about AI with you.
They get all the fun stuff. I get AI. Come on now, girl. I was like, well, I have stories too. All right, let's talk about AI. 'Cause
Listen.
that's what everyone here really wants to hear about, AI. All right, we'll do it. We'll do
I'll
it.
take a story if you
We'll
got
do
one.
it. We'll do it. We'll do it. We'll work with what we got. You know, we'll work with what we got.
Well, I'll give you one and say I want to give you a compliment in my question, which is AI is generating a skills transformation, right? And these measurements of success, these older ones, are being deprioritized for creativity and critical thinking. You've called it translating complexity into something human, which I think is just an incredible way to put it. And look, as a journalist, the idea that we're talking about creativity is a wonderful thing, right? So what opportunity does AI present to help women in the workplace? In terms of whether it's being a mom or you know, being in a leadership role, it has to be helpful. Tell us about what you think.
So first of all, every woman in this room should be using AI. AI is here to stay. It's here to stay. It's not going away. It's like, you know, not back in the day when computers showed up, you know, there used to be human computers. Computers are still here. That's how AI is going to be like several years from now, decades from now. AI is here to stay. And I think as women, it actually unlocks a lot of opportunity. There's opportunity for us to be increasingly more productive so we can not only be more strategic, but have time to clean poop, do whatever else we got to do, right? AI has the tremendous opportunity to help us, but it is up to us to lean into those skills. And I think one of the things that makes me a little sad is that I think there's fear around AI. So a lot of the conversations around AI is it going to take jobs? Is it not going to take jobs? The reality is AI, jobs are going to change, but new opportunities are going to be created. And I want to make sure that all of us as women are there ready to capture those new opportunities. So we need to be leaning into the skills. And I think as women leaders, the onus is on us to make sure that our teams are trained. So that investment in the teams, making sure that our folks are AI proficient. Everyone should know how to build AI into their workflows. Anyone here have an AI agent they're using? All right, well, I want every hand up. So after we go here, you know, you need to go online and read up about how to build an agent. It's very easy. You can use Claude or ChatGPT to build your very first agent. And my very first agent was like, how to help me be a more curious mother. Yes, because I'm Nigerian. And what that means is, you know, I have a lot of thoughts. No shortage of thoughts. So my daughter comes to me and I got a lot of thoughts. And maybe I need to start asking why. So I built an agent to help me be more curious, right, before I pass judgment. That's an example of how I'm using it at home, but I'm using it in my workplace. I also use the exact same skill at work. How can I be more curious with my teams? Instead of immediately passing judgment, how can I ask why? How can I go deeper? And guess what? The results are that much better. Because when we're curious, we introduce psychological safety. So implementing and adding AI into our workflows, using it as agents, training our teams, because the future is going to be us as leaders, not just managing people, but managing people and AI. Now, one thing I have to say before I get off the AI soapbox, I know y'all are loving it so much, so exciting, is that I'm team human. AI is lifting the floor, but it is human ingenuity and creativity that is going to raise the ceiling. And tastemakers and the creatives are the owners of the future. So it is incredibly important that we continue to hone and protect the skills and the artists.
Reshma, I know we're here to talk about women.
Yeah.
But I have to ask you about men.
Do you want to talk about men? Yep.
I know. Part of that's because you wrote a great piece for Time about the crisis of boys being left behind, right? And we all see this in the headlines. This is part of the news every day. And, you know, we were looking at a recent study that said nearly 2/3 of Gen Z men believe gender equality hurts them. And this part surprised me. Nearly 40% of Gen Z women revealed they felt the same way. So how do you fight for equality in a world where it's not necessarily what the younger generations say that that's what they want?
Yeah, I mean, listen, here's the thing. Like, we do have a crisis of masculinity in this country. It's just a fact. Men are lonelier. You know, they are not going to college at the same rates of women. You know, there's a suicide epidemic. But part of what's happened is there are folks on the far right that have said the reason why you don't got a job, the reason why you're depressed, is because you see those women over there? We gave them too much power. And the way to lift you up is I'm gonna pull them down. That is a lie. And so when we talk, because I have to address this, because I believe right now we are living in America through one of the most dangerous times it's ever been to be an American woman, and we just gotta be honest about it.
Girl, you said it.
Okay? We just gotta be honest about it, okay? Our reproductive rights are being taken away. Programs, like, you can't find a women ERG group anymore. And you know what? We needed to gather just to be like, can you believe what they said? Right? To learn AI together. There's something about women coming in community together that has always led to our disenfranchisement and our freedom. So don't let them convince you into thinking that that is a sign of progress. It is them dismantling progress so that we can actually tell all these men that we're doing something for you. And I want to give you an example of this. In 13 states, they have made coding clubs for girls illegal. At the height of Girls Who Code, we had 10,000 Girls Who Code clubs across the country. I taught 760,000 girls to code. I changed the number of women graduating with computer science degrees from 18% to 45%. They didn't like that. So in the name of trying to make it equitable and talking about a meritocracy that does not exist, we have dismantled programs. We have taken off women scientists from the halls of NASA. When in Paris, in Eiffel Tower, they just added 82 scientists next to the 87 men who've been there since 1887. That's what everyone else is doing. So we gotta be really, really, really clear about where we are and where we stand before I talk about men. And now I will talk about men. Okay?
Preach.
So here's the thing. So part of the dismantling of women's progress in America is a strategy to turn men against us. And we need them to win. I don't want to be right, I just want to win. And we are married to a lot. I have 2 sons. We have men in our lives that are on the same page as we are. And they are also suffering. And so to acknowledge that suffering, to have empathy for it, doesn't take anything away from us. Don't fall for the fact that this is a zero-sum game, because it's not. We are all in this together. This is about American families. This is about lifting us all up, not us versus them. And the problem is we're so damn disconnected. You know, when I talk to young women today, they don't even have a friend who's a male. They don't date each other. They don't talk to each other. They don't break bread together. They don't even do other things together, right? And that's a problem. You can't have empathy for somebody. I can't have empathy for what I'm seeing in the streets of Minnesota if I didn't know refugees like me, right? We can't feel for one another. And that is a strategy. The algorithms, the way everything is designed is to make us think, well, it's us versus them. And it's not. And it's hurting us. And so I make every effort that I possibly can, and it's not just because I'm the mother of sons, and you know, God gives you exactly what you can deserve, and He certainly did with me, you know, because they teach me that it's all about love right now. It is all about coming together. And so we have got to find ways to bring men into the conversation and have empathy for one another, or we're just as bad as they are. And I refuse to do it. I refuse to let them demean my humanity anymore.
Leslie, I want to take the idea that Reshma brought up about, equity initiatives being deprioritized in kind of all elements and bring it into the boardroom. You know, it might be clear to some folks in the room, but why is this bad for business, right? Like this corporate commitment crisis. What can that do for business if it's treated the right way?
I mean, we could cite data all day, right? Years and years of data now show that, you know, more diverse boards, leadership teams, et cetera, are better for business. So you can look at all the data, but there are a few things for why it's important. If it's necessary for survival as an organization in this day. So if you are not opening up opportunities for women in your companies, they will leave. If you are, there was a study I read, I want to say it was the World Economic Forum recently, that was talking about companies who are facing, successful companies, not startups, highly successful companies that face sort of downturns or long periods of, momentum is shifting. They will win long term if they have more diverse leadership teams. So there is so much there. It is necessary for survival. It is not a nice to have. There is enough data out there that shows if you want to survive. And that makes complete sense, right? If you're going through a company is successful and then all of a sudden it's going through a rift where something different is happening, if you have the same leadership team trying to make decisions when circumstances around you have changed, you have no diversity of opinion there, right? So it is, if you want to survive as a company, it's a necessity.
Right, you need those voices. Debbie, I want to quote you to you.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Yes, drop
Ready?
some knowledge.
All right. My job is to cultivate a team of people who don't think like me. When I'm not the smartest person in the room and people are challenging my assumptions, that's when we make our best decisions. I think that's a really powerful statement. What in your background has led you to this strategy, and how has it played out in your life, at home and at work?
I think I grew up, I'm the only child of immigrant parents from Taiwan. My parents were very clueless about the American education system. Their English wasn't great. But my mom was really great about advocating for me. And so in middle school, she sent me to a private school for gifted and talented kids. And from then on, I was in a group of students or peer group where people were very, very smart. I always felt like the dumbest person in the room. And each achievement I would get, right, whether that be getting into the college of my choice or getting that first job or, getting that promotion, the narrative in my head was always, well, I'm working really hard and I'm getting really lucky. But it's not because I'm smart. So I've never felt like I was the smartest in the room from a very young age. And instead of that being like a chink in my armor or a chip on my shoulder, now, as I'm leading a company, I'm realizing the fact that I have no ego about being the smartest one, because I know I'm not, is a good thing, because I'm really open to and openly accept that there are people who see things that I don't see, who are more talented in ways that I'm not. And the question, right, the insecure Chinese girl that grew up with immigrant parents, poor, always is well, do I belong in this room? And why do they follow me? All these people who I think are way smarter than me, why are they in here with me? And I think it's taken me I'm 45, it's taken me a really long time to figure out what, when they interview, what's your superpower? In Silicon Valley, they ask that shit a lot. And so I don't want to use that, but I think what I'm really good at is I'm really good at telling stories. I'm really good at painting a vision. And I'm great at getting people to believe and follow that vision or that story or me. So that I think my role is I bring people together in service of a greater calling of what, in this case, Open Table is trying to do. I'm not the best at math, I can't code to save my fucking life. And now I don't need
coding.
To. I've been on that Claude, still not great. But you know what I mean? And that's okay. I have to know about these things. I have to practice them, to Dara's point. But it's okay that I'm not best in class, because I know what I'm best in class in. And it's a special thing, and you have to practice. And that's the value add that I bring. And I think once you know your power, everything else kind of just settles down, right?
Wow, thank you. Dara, my last question for you.
Is this a fun one?
Yeah,
Yay!
It's a fun one. It's a fun. I actually moved one away to end us on a fun one, just for you. So you are proudly a successful working parent. In your mind, what's the most important thing that any company could do to help a caregiver thrive? And that could be a mom, a dad, an aunt, an uncle, anyone. What could they do?
I think to the point that Reshma provided, it's really important to design the system to work for everyone. So when I first I've actually never shared this publicly, but I don't know. I'm just feeling like, yeah, I'm feeling the vibe and the energy. I'm like, you guys, I'm like, all my new best friends. Let's just talk about it. Let's gab. The very first time I got pregnant, I was excited because it was something I was looking forward to, something I wanted. But immediately after that excitement, my second feeling was fear. I'm ashamed to say it, but it was fear because I was worried. I said, what's going to happen to my career? I had just started a big new job and I was genuinely worried. I was like on the track. I was like, I know I'm going to be a CMO. I know I'm going to make it. And I was like, this is going to derail. I thought to myself, they're going to think I'm not serious. They're going to take my team and give it to another team. And then I paused and I said, if I, who am senior, am feeling this, what about the other women? What about the individual contributors? What about those in middle management? And it made me rethink how systems work. Fortunately, I was at an organization that provides leave and provides care. And I'll never forget walking into my boss's office. And this is why I talk about, I love that men are on this journey with us. Because sponsors, at the end of the day, representation shows you the door. Sponsors open the door. And sometimes, many of the times, the sponsors in my life have been men that have opened the door. White men that have opened the door. And mentors help you walk through it confidently. And I'll never forget walking into Brad's office really nervous to tell him I'm pregnant. And he was so happy for me. He was so excited. And he said, well, let's think of all the things, all the wins we're going to get on the board before you get out, go for maternity leave. And when you come back, all the wins you're going to continue to push so that we have the 100-day plan ready for you when you get back. But just that motivation, that inspiration made me feel confident and comfortable. And so I think as businesses, providing the psychological safety for women and the systems. So it's not enough to just have the systems. We also have to have the psychological safety so that people feel comfortable, and we need to make sure that we see that through every level of the organization. And the more we have women leaders, working parents in senior positions, I think it gives people the space to know I can do it too. It makes them understand I don't have to be afraid. And I love the point you made, I don't have to choose. Because at the end of the day, what is true success as a woman? Freedom of choice to make the decisions that are best for us.
I can't think of a better note to end on than that. Thank you, ladies. Appreciate the inspiration, all the laughs. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
Yay!
I'm so happy to be here. I can't see straight.
Well, thank you. Thank you for making the trip across the country to be here with us. We are so grateful. You've been playing Olivia Benson
For 79 years.
Yes.
Yes. You can't argue with that.
Facts.
And I smile in person.
I feel like actors are always asked, what of yourself do you bring to your character? But since you have been playing Olivia Benson for 79 years, I am curious, how do you feel that she has shaped you?
So much. I can answer both questions. I think what I brought to her is heart, empathy, and compassion. And what she taught me is focus, fearlessness, feel the fear and do it anyway, and don't give up your femininity, and you're allowed to be all of yourself. She taught me how to be a boss lady. And it's been beautiful to grow into that, because I actually literally grew into that as I matured and progressed as an actor and person on the show. I mean, I sort of did it in front of the whole world. And I can even notice it, with my voice, and how my voice was softer and younger and more tentative. With apology, I don't have that now.
We love that development for you.
Yeah, I love that development for all women, and I have so much compassion, right? Because I used to see some of the early shows and be like, what are you doing? And what is that like baby voice? And I say that because I was 35 when I started, but I was so like, and understandably so. I have compassion for that self, but it's so exciting to take ownership, I guess, of our power and how good it feels and what it costs us oftentimes to do that.
I want to go back to the very first thing you said, compassion and empathy. Mm-hmm. Because of the character that you play, you are sort of this trusted figure. People will come up to you and tell you their stories of deep, horrible things that have happened to them, what they've endured. What have you learned being the keeper of such intimate and weighty secrets for all these years?
Oh, so many things. I think the biggest gift that we can give people is to bear witness to their stories, to be in it with them and to believe them and to simply listen. That is the greatest thing I think I've learned. And when I first started, when I was preparing for the role of at the time, detective Olivia Benson, I went through a 40-hour training program to become a rape crisis counselor. And because I wanted to understand, how to be the best at my job and how to be present and figure out what a survivor needs. And I'll tell you, the most of the training was simply learning how to listen, or not to say, I know what that's like, or I totally understand, because you don't. You don't. And just listening and taking it in and saying, I see you and I'm sorry and I believe you, is so many times, just that is so healing. Just that is so healing. And I've had survivors share with me, my first movie that I made was called I Am Evidence, about the backlog of untested rape kits. And one of the survivors in the film, when she was sharing her story of being assaulted, which was so brutal, she said what was worse was not being believed by her mother. And that has stayed with me, because I can't imagine how brutal that is. You know what I mean? It's to be taken in and to be seen and to be believed and to be held. That's where the healing is. So that's what I've learned.
In addition to the training that you did for the show and the work that you do on the show, you have a foundation, the Joyful Heart Foundation, which you started in 2004. Mm-hmm. I'm curious how the mandate has changed over the years as the world has changed, and especially as advances in tech have led to these new ways of having to deal with exploitation and, how things have evolved for you.
Well, in so many ways, and, because we made so much progress, and we're here where we are today, which is quite painful now to have moved backwards significantly with the current administration. But what is beautiful for me is that when I started Joyful Heart, and I started it because when I learned about the statistics of sexual assault and domestic violence on the show, and found that it was, 1 in 3 women in their lifetime, 1 in 6 men in their lifetime, and realizing that it was an epidemic. And why wasn't everyone talking about it? Why wasn't everyone talking about it? And so when I first started it and I went to various organizations, they were like, yeah, we don't talk about that. Or, yeah, if it's not a disease, if it's not heart disease, sorry, we can't help you, or we can't give money. And I was like, wait, what? But if you're having lunch with 4 women, 1 in 4 women has been assaulted by the time they're 18. And so that was very hard to continue to push through. And one of the things that's most beautiful now is all the brave and incredible survivors that have come forward. Unfortunately, sexual assault is normalized now, but now we can talk about it. And that's one of the things that I was most proud of SVU, is that things that weren't discussed. Once it's on TV, it's water cooler conversation, and we can talk about it. And so for me, I remember when I said, I want people to talk about sexual assault the way they talk about breast cancer, that you're a breast cancer survivor, and there's no shame, there's no stigma at all. You're just powerful and strong, and you've endured something, and it's so beautiful, and how we celebrate that, and that's what I wanted, is to get the stigma off. But you know, there's been so much research in DNA, and it's been really beautiful. One of the things that I'm very interested in is in the all crimes DNA bill, which should be passed everywhere, because what people don't realize is that the number one thing that rapists are arrested for or have a history of is petty larceny, stealing. And people don't know that. And so they think like, well, he never stole anything. And it's like, yeah, but that's how they start. And that was, if we, watch I Am Evidence, because I deal with this in that movie. If you haven't seen it, it's on HBO. Did I just drop something?
We all picked it up.
But we talk about that, is that when the jurisdictions don't communicate with each other, for example, if there's a rapist in one state, oftentimes they don't communicate. Now with CODIS, with the national database, it's much better, but there's still problems with talking in jurisdictions about how one jurisdiction handles something versus how another one does. So that's what we're working on now, is to get all the jurisdictions to communicate and share information. But also, when somebody steals something, to take a swab so they're in the system. Because as soon as they did that, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rapes were solved because they had a simple swab.
That's so powerful.
Yeah. So that's something that we're dealing with right now. We just had a board meeting about it, about how to train also law enforcement, because I was like, well, I don't understand, why don't they do that? And they said, because, you know, there's so much organization that has to take place. Who's going to take the swab? Did they take the swab? Did they already take the swab? Oh, I was in there. That person who does the swab is not working right now. So it's all those kind of things. And it's the same way now that we have SANE nurses, right? That we have specific nurses to do the intake for a victim of sexual assault, because that's also a re-traumatizing exam, and people don't know that. And so you don't want to have somebody going, I don't know, where do I put the hair? You know, but these are things that happen. Yeah. So that's what we're trying to do, is figure out where the weaknesses are and how to make those things smoother, or to bring up the person who's actually doing the swab and make them the hero, because they're the ones that solve the crime. Right? So figuring out how we work together as a team. I think I'm going to do an episode about it on SVU. Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, so there's some very good reasons to watch your first film. Let's talk about your second film, My Mom, Jane, about your mother, Jane Mansfield.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think some people in the room have seen it and know that it's great. It's so powerful.
Thank you.
How did telling that story about your mom change you as both daughter and filmmaker?
Again, in so many ways, you know, I feel like I've been preparing my whole life to make that film, because I knew something that I didn't know as a child, but I felt it. I felt like something was off. And again, that's our intuition. That's that thing that we all possess, that you know, I've been trying to hone my whole life, and to teach young women about that voice that we have inside us, that we just need to be still enough to hear. Because we already know the answers. We really do. I really, really believe that, and it only gets reinforced as I get older. It's like there's a feeling where you like know if it's right and wrong. And I'm so grateful, because my dad used to say that to me. If I did something wrong, he'd go, you know what you did. And it was such a gift, because it's so empowering, right? To say to a child, I don't have to tell you, you know what you did. And then they're like, I know what I did. I'm sorry. And it makes them have agency over it, and over their own opinions, and they're right or wrong. So
Can you share for people who might not know what that discovery was?
For me,
Yes. The gut feeling that was
I
validated.
felt like I didn't belong in my family. I felt that I was different from everyone. And my mother died, for those of you who haven't seen the film, my mother died when I was 3 in a car accident that I was in. Our whole my siblings were as well. And I was raised by an amazing man, my father, who was my North Star, my hero, my everything, my mentor. And I found out at 25 that he wasn't my biological father. And it was really rough. And sort of the bottom fell out from under me because everything that I believed in, everything that I held on to from not having a mother, I just felt untethered, I guess is the word, and that I didn't belong to anyone, and that I was Italian and not Hungarian, and my name is Mariska Hargitay, this very Hungarian name. And meanwhile, I've been talking like this my whole life, and everyone's like, are you Italian? I'm like, nope. And so now I'm just happy. Now I sort of go, well, I'm Italian, Hungarian. Why can't we just be all of it? But yeah, so what I learned so much in that movie, and it really did redefine me. And I remember my beautiful co-star, Kelly Giddish, for those of you who watch SVU, she said to me, and it was exactly right, she goes, I can't wait to see what you do after you're done with this movie. Because all of the content in the movie took so much space up, so much internal space of trying to navigate who I was and what I was and was I worthy and did I belong? Zip it. And so, we're not kidding. You can do anything with comedy, right? You can tell people to shut it, and they laugh. But we're serious. But anyway, I'm kidding. Not really. But so for me, once I went through the story and went, like I had such a complicated relationship with my mom. I'm like, why can't you be normal? Why do you wear a bathing suit and heels all the time? Why do you talk with a high voice? And it made me just talk with a lower voice and like put a lot of clothes on. And then when I actually got curious and went on a mission to find out who she was and why she was and all the different facets that she was. Because I was like, I don't let people put me in a box. She got put in a box. Yeah. And so I wanted to find out who that woman is. And then all the judgment that I had about my biological father, how could he give me up? He didn't love me, he didn't care, I wasn't chosen, I'm a nobody, I don't matter, I was an accident. It goes on and on and on. And then I found out through this film, everyone made the best choice for me. Everyone made the most loving choice for me. And I had all these things in my head, fear, lack, not enough, unworthy. And then I realized, no, they loved you so much. They made the best choice for you. And somehow my relationship with my mother healed. And I'm so in awe of her now. And I'm so grateful to both fathers. And I just have so much more internal space. So much more internal space. And I love people. I love them so much. I'm definitely a people person. I love connecting. And I think that my vulnerability is my superpower. It's what connects me to people and what makes me feel connected to other people. Like when women say, I don't want to cry. I'm like, why? I cry, and then I can kill you. But the point is, no, what I'm just saying is that I allow myself to be all of myself now, and we get to be all of ourselves. And so when that happened, I just felt like I got so much more, and I care more about what I think now than what other people think. And I just assume the best because I can now. And I don't live with all the fear. So that's what the movie gave me, is like pieces of myself back, but like real pieces, and love and more more maternal energy, because I mean, it's weird to have maternal feelings for your mother, your dead mother, but she was only 34 when she died. And I'm so lucky that I'm 62 and still here. So I'm so grateful for all of it. I just wish I wish I could have been friends with her and done
If
it
you
with
could
her.
tell her one thing, what would you want her to know?
So much. How much I love her, how much I admire her, and how grateful I am to be like her.
Congratulations, Mariska. Thank you so much for being here.
This is going to be a really exciting conversation about defining leadership and what's happening in sports, and particularly in women's sports. There is real momentum. You'd agree? Yes?
Yeah, let's go.
Investment,
Come on now.
cultural impact,
Come on.
real time. I'm so excited. I'm not going to spend the whole panel introducing my panelists. They need no introduction, clearly. We are at an incredible moment. We're here in LA, and like 2 years, the Olympics. The 5-year question, I don't know. What needs to go right over the next 5 years for women in sports? Kelly, I'm going to start with you.
Popcorn Chennai. No, just kidding. I made that joke backstage. Well, first I want to say, Jessica, thank you for having all of us up here, and everybody in the room. Thanks for being here. I feel very honored to be up here on this stage with these women. So very cool. What needs to go right in the next 5 years? Not everything, but a lot of things. I think one of those biggest things is the investment and the right people making that investment, because when you look at women's sports and who has been a part of it for a long time, that is starting to change in terms of the people who are in decision-making positions. And with that change, we are seeing the right strides happen, right? So women's sports in general, you need to know the history of it. If you think about it, WNBA, what year did WNBA start?
Shoot, it was right after the 96 Olympics, 97.
Right. So how long has the NBA been going on?
I think it's 75 years. We're approaching our 30th WNBA season.
Exactly. So same with NWSL. We started in 2013. The MLS has been going on since, I think, the 90s. You look at the history of women's sports, right? And you look at the progression and the growth in this short amount of time compared to men's sports. It is outperforming in every category. So, yeah, let's clap it up. So I think it's important the people who come into this space and want to be a part of this space to understand the history, and just in general, the general public, the players, the athletes that are a part of it. We have to understand this and know that we have made so much growth and strides in a short amount of time compared to our male counterparts. And in doing that, it's very clear that women's sports is where it's at. So next 5 years, it's about investment, it's about the right decisions being made, and it's about the public continuing to pile on and get excited and be a part of this wave that is, in my opinion, the now, but also the future.
Okay, Jordan, this one's for you, LA. Is there like a heavy weight, cultural weight of like being here at home?
I mean, yeah, 100%. You know, the last time I wasn't even alive when I heard the first Olympics was in the United States.
Oh, okay, that was the one I watched. I got excited about.
I'm just sorry. I'm sorry, but to know I get to be a part of, you know, this new era of not only it being in LA, which is the most amazing. From a Tokyo and a Paris Olympics, you know, I changed, you know, the culture, having my grills in Paris, and to look and see what that was like just in a whole different country, and to know that we'll be able to represent who we are a little more in LA, it means everything. And I think having that opportunity just to be a part of that, it shows the difference of what that little girl in me saw in the mirror, being like, you know what, an Olympic Games, yeah, that's great, but like, what more can you do with it? How can we bring not just the people on the outside into it, but also the athletes, whether it's like the W where you have, their tunnel fits, and it's like, okay, if they can do it, gymnasts can do it. Or for instance, just having the opportunity to showcase our own individuality. Everything, we do is very authentic. And I think, seeing that part of LA being that authentic side, whether we get to see it on the biggest stage or we get to see it in the most tiniest spaces. So I'm happy that's in LA, and I'm happy that people are actually on board with that. It's not like a negative thing, it's more of a positive thing. And, as athletes, when we hear that, it's easier for us to perform and do everything that we need to do when we know that we have the support behind us.
Janae, I have to say, you have literally shaped the sports narrative, especially on broadcast.
Go on.
And did.
We were just talking about this backstage. I was like, you're awesome. And I love watching you on TV.
All right, hard question.
Too much.
Hard question. Does advocacy ever conflict with ratings?
Ooh.
Jessica.
Are we coming in hot? Does advocacy ever conflict with ratings? It absolutely does. And at times I feel like, also, by the way, beautiful room. Smells good, looks good, feels good. Here for it. That has been probably the biggest challenge for me in my career. I've been on broadcast for almost 10 years now, which is quite wild. I was the first person, as you allude to be a full-time professional athlete and full-time professional broadcaster. Before Candace, before Draymond, I was in the streets of Bristol, Connecticut hustling. And I think I learned a huge lesson because I knew who I was. I won a state championship in high school. I went to Stanford.
Go Card.
What up? Go Card. I went to
Nation.
Stanford and went to 3 Final Fours alongside my sister. I watched my sister get drafted #1 in the WNBA. She became a goal model for me, not a role model. She set a goal and helped me achieve mine as well. Goal model for me and helped me become a #1 pick in the WNBA. I came with credentials, but people still didn't know who I was. And so when I had the opportunity to be full-time as an NBA analyst in 2018 on SportsCenter, a lot of people threw questions at me. Janae, why are you a woman speaking on a male sport? What do you know? They couldn't even say my name. They thought I was my sister half the time. She's an MVP, she's a champion. But I understood that the hardest part was actually the best one because it yielded the best results. By sitting up there, I saw countless young girls say, hey, I want to do what you're doing. That's a pathway that I never really saw before as an athlete. We have the greats like Doris Burke. We have Taylor Rooks in the room as well. And yes, snaps for Taylor doing her thing with Amazon. But it's truly been a sisterhood, and we have to understand that our representation matters. Sometimes, your existence in a space that's not built for you can be the resistance. And so when I was existing and doing my best, coming with the facts on First Take, on SportsCenter, battling guys like Stephen A. and Perk, who I consider my brothers, even though sometimes I gotta set them straight. To me, it was just existing and thriving and succeeding in that space that was not carved out for us that actually created more change. Oftentimes, hot takes, the stuff that the guys say, go so far and get you views, but sustained excellence can never be denied. And so overall, I just think like if you're a woman that may not feel seen or heard or in a space that is not built for you, sustained excellence actually is the most attractive thing that you can be because you are dependable. And so I found a place where, okay, there might be a fast track to success, but I'm so comfortable being the person that represents the next generation and those possibilities. And it is not easy nor fun at times, but it is necessary. And I do believe that that's what gives me the most joy.
Mic drop.
All right. Okay.
Came with a heat. She came with
I have an audience question. Raise your hand if you played sports. Any sport. Most. All right, Lara, you've been one of the biggest advocates and champions for women playing sports and that translating into success in the C-suite. And in fact, according to Deloitte, your study says that 90% of women executives did play sports. It seemed like we had 90% in the room. Talk about that.
So it's not a coincidence. When you look at the C-suite, senior leaders, they're building skills from a young age when they play sports. we talked about the 90%. The 90% is just in the C-suite. If you talk about really, really experienced and highly compensated leaders, over $500,000, that percentage goes up. So it's clear there's a clear relationship, but we see a lot of issues with getting girls to play and get valued and stay in the sport. If you go back to accessibility, there are 1.3 million fewer opportunities today for a girl to play than a boy, even with Title IX. Girls drop out 2 times as much as boys in sport, and half the time it's because of confidence issues, including body confidence. So if we can get more girls to actually join and stay in sports, and then when they're in it, and I totally agree on your point about the investment, we are comparing women's sports to men's sports, and that is a major, major flaw. Women's sports is its own unique event. The people in Gen Z want to engage in the culture and the entertainment, into the bigger picture, and women are willing to expose themselves. So we have to change the business model, we have to change the investment model, we have to start doing scientific studies on women. Women who play sports have greater injuries, they have inability to have children, and we don't have any of the same things men have. If we can do this, more girls playing, more girls getting valued to play, we will have more leaders in the future.
Kelly, the equal pay movement changed the economics of U.S. soccer. What did you learn from that experience, and how can we scale that?
Say that last
How
part
can
again?
we scale that?
So my biggest learning from our fight for equal pay with U.S. Soccer was there is power in the collective. And when I got on the national team, it was 2010, and I remember hearing players, and I was new, so I was like, I'm just happy I get a paycheck, like this is sick, you know? But players complaining about the pay, complaining about the benefits, complaining about the treatment as compared to the men. And in those complaints, I was kind of like, well, who's gonna deal with that? Like looking around like, that's not me because I just got here, But then when you start to look around and you're like, this is my reality and I'm part of this ecosystem, so I'm now the person that has to go change something, has to go fight for something. No one else is gonna do it. And that's something that I learned as well in that was, if you wanna see some change, go be the change. Like, go make the change happen, because you can't be waiting around for other people to do it. And then on top of that, like I said, power in the collective. Our fight for equal pay came about because we came together as a team and as players, individuals, and we're like, this has gone on too long, this is not good enough, and we deserve better. And I will say, and Chene, you probably, the W is going through a very public CBA negotiation right now, and I'd been through CBA negotiations with the national team before, but this was different in that we got everyone on board. We said we are locking arms, we are sticking together, and no one's gonna step out. We have to do this together. And I truly saw that power in being united as a group. And it was not easy. It was a lot of work, and it was scary. I think that's the biggest thing I learned is change is scary. Fighting for something different is scary, but it's worth it. And in doing that, we were able to achieve equal pay. And we were able, thank you, yes, let's go. We were able to do that, and because we were able to do that, we were able to inspire so many people around the world, not just athletes. We had players from other federations calling, being like, how'd you guys make this happen? What do we do? How can we resemble or mirror what you guys have achieved here? But I was doing a talk last week in Atlanta, and I spoke about equal pay, and question and answer session came up at the end, and a woman stood up and she was like, watching y'all's fight for equal pay and seeing you achieve that, it inspired me to negotiate for more pay. And that's the first time I'd ever done that in my life, So I think that I hope that our fight, one, people can look at it and say, okay, what was the strategies employed to achieve this? Power in the collective, staying unified. But then also know that if you want to be the change, or you want to see change, you got to be the change. And it is possible, but find your people, rile them up, and go make it happen.
Well, I mean, I think that's why you're such incredible leaders in your space. Just reflecting on my own career over the last 30 years, like the rules were the rules.
Right.
And that was it. Like you never thought about changing them, let alone making up new ones. So it's the younger generations that have paved the way. Jordan, I want to get to you for a moment because you're USA's hype woman in Paris.
Let's go.
Whoa. And talk a little bit about, I didn't get a chance to play sports. I didn't have that opportunity. I didn't have I didn't have any of those issues. It wasn't accessible to me. But I learned a lot from my daughter who played 4 years of soccer varsity about teams and what it's like to be part of a team. And I think you really showed up for your team. Talk about that experience and why that's so important for this audience.
I mean, I think the biggest thing that I took away from that was understanding that each and every person on that team mattered. My first Olympics back in Tokyo, that was when I really realized, like, I had to step in for the biggest person in our sport, and I thought I was never gonna have to do that. But that's when I realized, I didn't get put on that team for no reason. That year, I was 24 for 24 routines. I was the only athlete who did that, and going into that competition, that felt like 15 minutes for me, which was like 5 seconds for you guys when that switch happened. And I was like, this is why I'm here. I was here because I was put in this position at any moment in time. If something goes wrong or something has to change, you're capable of doing that. So going into Paris, I was like, you know what? No matter the rules, no matter what's going on, no matter all of those things, how can I put myself in a better position to understand you deserve to be here? You deserve to be a part of these other girls that are also doing the exact same thing you're doing, but how can you do it different? And I think that's why I enjoyed being, I loved being the hype woman. I loved, encouraging everybody, getting the hype going on. But I think that's where my authenticity came into play. I don't think you've ever seen really a gymnast with this many tattoos. I don't think you've ever seen, a gymnast pop a grill on after winning a gold medal. Like, who has nails like this? And yes, I did get inspired by FloJo, so it was like, why not do it? And I think looking at myself in the mirror and understanding that even though sometimes my crown is crooked, how can I fix it? Even though I wake up and see what can I do for the next generation? How can I allow them just to sprint and do whatever they want to do and feel confident and comfortable and independent and just be the women that they want to be? So that obviously, that did come into play during Paris, and I just took that with me. College taught me a lot. College taught me, time management, all those things, discipline in a different way. I had discipline in my sport, but discipline in school, having to wake up, going to classes, going to practice, being with your teammates, that's where you learn differently. It's where you learn where it's not just an individual sport anymore, it's a team. And so having that opportunity and really taking that into Paris, I enjoyed it. Every single person on that team had a role. Mine was, I had to be in the position at any moment in time. If change happened, they could trust me. They can trust the fact that if I need to go, I can go. They can trust me that I wasn't going to dim my light to make other people's brighter. They knew that I was always going to be authentic to who I was and that I was just able, just to do what we did. And, it's cool to know that now, 24 years later, I'm a 2-time Olympian and a gold medalist. So.
Okay, Lara, let's get to the corporate C-suite again. We have an incredible room of women that work at incredible companies, are stewards of brands. We have our incredible partners here with us at Women of the Year. What can companies and brands do to support particularly young athletes? Why is that so important as an investment?
Well, it comes in a couple different ways. One is, this is your future leadership team, right? We often, as women, come into organizations and we believe we have to operate in a certain way. When I started at Deloitte, there were days I thought I needed to be super quiet and feminine and talk in a really loud voice. And then people would say, well, she's too emotional. She's going to cry in the bathroom. She won't make the hard decisions. And then there were other days where I was more me and I was a little bit more direct and said what I thought, and people would call me a bitch, right? So you as a woman, you really struggle. And when you think about what girls who come into organizations bring, whether they played sports 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, I could teach anybody in the world how to do some sort of technical area. If you're an accountant, a tax person, a consultant, anybody can learn it. You could not teach leadership. You can't give someone grit who doesn't have grit. You can't make a recipe and try to create resilience or agility in someone. This is what athletes have. You just heard this story. Imagine Olympians coming into your organization and all they did. I would take this 10 times a day over someone who went to school for 10 years. So what I would urge all of us to do, clearly I want us to invest in these sports because they need it. This is who's doing the investing now. Nobody else is doing it. And go back to your organizations and say the models, those are for men. And it's not fair to women because we're not on TV 24/7. Challenge the models, invest in women. It's quantitative, it's qualitative, but most importantly, bring athletes into your organization and empower them to be leaders, and you will have an amazing organization.
Come on now. Janae, okay. There's an incredible surge in what's happening in women's basketball. Now, are there mistakes from men's groups and men's sports and leagues that women, let's just say, should avoid during this growth?
You put me on a hot seat today. Wow. Okay, before I get to that answer, as I buy myself some time from sweating, there are some amazing points that these women just made that I want to reaffirm because they're not just talking from their heart and soul. It's lived experience. When you talk about the power of the collective, she's talking about the equal pay and fighting for that literally on Capitol Hill. The coolest part of that process was the collective cross sports. Because at that time, Sue Bird was on our executive committee. I was also on the executive committee of the last 2020 CBA. And Megan Rapinoe was like, hey, these are the notes that we got that got us our result.
No,
Let me
truly.
slide them over to the women of the W. So the collective is real, you know? And even though we may post on social media our own individual stories, behind the scenes, we have each other's back. To speak to Jordan, I live your experience each and every day. I work alongside Richard Jefferson, Kendrick Perkins, some talented men, Stephen A. Smith, and my biggest strength is bringing the table up by making sure the conversation continues to flow. That if something goes down, Sinead, you can work the big board, you can break it down on the LED. Being a vital piece that is versatile is, to me, a huge strength. And then lastly, when you talk about the resilience and grit, I feel like anyone that is going through something, just by showing up and also understanding that staying to your authentic self is the key, like that resilience is innate within you. You don't have to be an athlete to have that type of mindset. It's just knowing that it's not how things happen to you, it's how you respond that will dictate. These are all lived experiences. As to women's basketball, honestly, what day is today? Is it the 10th? Oh Lord, I chose a panel on the 10th, CBA deadline day. Say a prayer for us. I think it comes back to the first thought. Oftentimes we compare ourselves, men and women. Comparison is a thief of joy. And we have fought for 30 years. We stand on the shoulders of those giants. One of my biggest mentors is Lisa Leslie. And she has mentored me not on the court. Like when I played, it was great. She's like, oh, Sinead, you got this. You got resilience. You got grit. She mentored me in life. She taught me what it is to be a woman, to be a professional, to be a broadcaster, in the future, hopefully one day to be a mom. We wear so many different hats as women. And I do think that when we compare ourselves to the men, there's no comparison because we show up in ways that are so much more impactful. We have women going and playing and then giving birth and then bringing their children to the arena and then teaching them at night and reading them bedside stories. There's no comparison for the power of women, in my opinion. It's now getting that investment to understand that this is a league, these are sports that can stand on their own. We are in a very pivotal time. A lot of people are panicked. There are a lot of things at stake. The momentum is so enticing. But one thing I've learned through this process and watching my sister as, you know, the person leading it as president of the Players Association currently, I've learned that there is never a good time, a right time to fight for what you deserve. You just have to fight. And so when I think of women in sport and why investment is important, when I think about this moment and where the WNBA can go, we are in the best of hands. We've always passed the baton. Look at what has happened the last year. Asia Wilson arguably will go down as the greatest women's basketball player ever. But she learned from Lisa Leslie. She learned from Sheryl Swoops. We have young players like Paige and Caitlin and Angel that are transcending culture. I always joke, and I'll say this to rap, the WNBA is like, I'm every woman. You can find every kind of woman in the WNBA. And we should never shrink ourselves to a box where we just compare it to something else. We should lean into what makes us different, what makes us special, what makes us unique. And I'm just hoping that the women understand that in this moment, because Lord, it has been a long fight, but it is going to be a continual fight. Just because there's a moment happening right now doesn't mean that fights aren't going to come. But it's that constant sense of advocating and understanding that the roles that you represent, not just when you're wearing a jersey, those are the things. You show up as so much more than that. And so don't ever think that you're less than just because you may be compared to something else.
No, you crush that, you crush that.
All right, here we are. We are closing out the Time Women of the Year Leadership Forum. And I always like to start with a moment of gratitude and thank you, and then end on a moment of positivity and hopefulness. So I'm gonna ask each of you, and I'll start, just go down, lightning round. What are you most hopeful and excited for in the year 2026?
I just have to say, in this environment, peace and humanity, I have a 20 and a 22-year-old. I'm sure many of you have children. This is a really, 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 really tough world right now. And there's polarizing views, there's hatred, there's violence, there's fear. We're in here talking about this amazing topic, but we can't have these topics when everybody has to go home and worry about loved ones and worry about the next thing that may come their way. So I just want peacefulness for all of us in our brains and our hearts, and to be able to spend our time talking about these things, because we can't do it with what's going on in the world. So I wish that for all of us. My only ask of all of you is, when you go to your kitchen tables and you talk about what you're seeing on the TV with your parents, your siblings, your friends, your kids, just be kind. Just be kind.
I'll have to piggy off of that, because I did choose this year of peace. I think the biggest thing is, my hope is that I still continue to inspire every single person, whether you're in this room, whether it's the younger generation, because I still feel like as a gymnast, there is still so much to do within our sport. And if I can be an advocate for mental health, for, just being authentic and self-aware of who you are trying to be and telling your story how it is, I'm going to continue to do that. So mine is definitely, being kind, we're all capable of understanding one another if we choose to. And I think that's something that I think we can all lean in on, because at the end of the day, we are individual, but we all are one. So if we come together and really choose to, uplift one another, then the world, we'll enjoy it. We'll have fun. So just peace, happiness, and just to continue to inspire.
I mean, I echo both of those sentiments, absolutely. Me personally, just speaking for myself, I'm very much so still in a rookie moment of my life, transitioning from retiring from soccer and into this next chapter. So I'm hopeful for growth and learning and staying curious. That's kind of what I've tasked myself with doing, because a lot of people are like, what are you gonna do next? Like, what's the next big thing? And I'm like, I don't know. And I think that's a beautiful thing to be able to say, I don't know. So yeah, I'm hopeful for growth, curiosity, definitely peace, and some happy days ahead.
I completely echo what you're saying about times being really scary. You go on the news, you look and see all the crazy things that are happening. I think we should always remember to choose joy. And joy is very personal to me. My name is actually Chinenye Joy. And Chinenye in Igbo means God gives. So my name is Chinenye, God gives joy. And my mom always says, be careful what you name a child, that's what they become. And so I'm like, all right, yeah, but honestly, The older I get, the more adulting I go through, which is real. Choosing joy is difficult. And every day I try to find, little pleasures in the small things. And so whether it was yesterday, I was on the phone with my sis who was in the middle of CBA meetings, and just to be able to talk about Paradise, the last episode, and go in, that was a joyful moment. To be able to walk outside, I was going to a doctor's appointment and see the ocean. That was choosing joy. And so as we're going about our days, just choose joy and protect that. And it does not have to be a big revolutionary, I gotta post this to social media thing. It can be a small thing that is your thing. And then lastly, I always tell myself this going into studio, and you probably have these moments, right? When I went to go play on the hardwood at Crypto or Forever Staples, I'd always have this routine. I'd call my mom, and then I'd say a prayer, and it was a serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change what I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And so giving you and wishing you all serenity and to choose joy.
I'm most excited in 2026 to be able to tell your stories. So keep writing them. Next chapter, we'll be there to cover it in our magazine, online, on social, however, audio, video, however you want to see what's going on. Come to time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jessica.